Hello, my name's Jasper Bruce Wright. Welcome to Cheddar Gorge, welcome back to Buckle Up, and welcome to the BMW i4 M50. I am here today to ask a very important question. Is this the EV for petrolheads? Now, where better to start than with some styling at the front? And to a non-petrol head, you could say that this looks just as sporty as an M3 because it's got a very similar front bumper design. What you do have are some whopping great big black plastic kidney grills, a BMW badge rounded in blue because it's an EV, and you've got a pretty sporty looking front bumper if you do ask me. Relatively low, nice contrast between the black plastic and the lighter paintwork here, some bits of aero styling down here and some genuine vents at the sides. Things I do like, the headlamp clusters, I think they're pretty sporty, quite purposeful. Things I'm not quite as much of a fan of, that bit. Certainly a unique element to the styling, whether it's a good one or not, open for debate. Down at the side, the bits of sportiness continue. Firstly, these alloy wheels, 19 inches, which is about right for the size of the car. I do really like the styling. Lovely matte black finish with a diamond cut front. M badge on your front quarter panel, sporty. Some more genuine vents down here. And then you've got the M-style wing mirror covers here, gloss black plastic. The door handles are the type that pivot out, but they are flush. We've seen this on a few more modern BMWs. Nice grey plastic running board and blacked in windows, as well as a contrast roof. Down here you have, of course, your charging flap. This is, after all, an EV, and this has a maximum charge speed of 205 kilowatts, which is unfortunately not quite as fast as a Tesla Model 3 will charge, but still pretty rapid. And if you were to plug this in at home on a wall box, you can go from 0 to 100% in 8 hours. Not bad if you ask me. Round at the back, you see more sportiness. You've got a boot spoiler, you've got blacked in windows, you've got some nice badging, you've got an M badge, it's an M50 this model, which means you've got all-wheel drive and quite a lot of power. We'll talk more about that power when we drive it, but on the outside you do have more of a clue that this is quite a sporty model because you've got some actual diffuser design going on at the bottom here. From the side profile of this car, you may be forgiven for thinking that this is a saloon, but it's not. It's actually a 5-door hatchback. And if we open the boot, you'll be greeted with 490 litres of space. Now, if you fold those seats down, it will go up to 1,270, which is pretty impressive for this style of car. With this being a hatchback, you actually get a lot more practicality with this design than you do from something like an IONIQ 6, a Model 3 or a BYD Seal, because the boot opening is so much larger. Within the boot, you've got a couple of small cubbies and some space under the floor, but some of that is taken up by the Harman Kardon subwoofer in this model. Let's have a look in the back seats. In the back seats, what is it like for comfort? Relatively good. The floor is a little bit too high, but that's quite a common theme with a lot of electric cars because of the batteries that sit underneath. The seats are very comfortable, and certainly for me, at the princely height of 5'7" and a bit, or 173 centimetres, I'm not struggling for headroom. If I were any taller though, my head would be touching the ceiling. So this is definitely the kind of car where if you are taller than 5'8" or 175-ish centimetres, you are probably going to have to slouch just a little bit to make yourself comfortable. Now, the materials are really nice, lovely leather on the seats, and the door cards all the way up to the top are lovely materials. Nice bits of brushed kind of metal styled plastic here, some lovely ambient lighting, Harman Kardon speakers in the door cards, and some door pockets down here. However, they are unfortunately just a little bit too small to fit in my reusable bottle of water. Not to fret, because in the centre I do have a pair of cup holders, which is thankfully big enough to drop that water bottle into. So practicality isn't too bad in the back seats. I've got those cup holders, that armrest, ISOFIX on both of the outer seats, 2 USB Type-C charge ports down here, and a zone for climate control in the rear seats, which is really good to see. Frameless doors with tinted glass, and on the whole, this cabin is really nice back here. Nets on the backs of both seats as well. You can see a good amount through to the front, so car sickness shouldn't be too much of an issue, and there's plenty of space widthways for me to be comfortable, certainly to carry 2 people back here. If you did want to have a third person back here though, I think you might struggle because there is quite a big hump in the middle of the floor, so you are going to have to straddle the tunnel down here. So up front, it is similar to the back. In terms of material quality, there are some excellent choices in here. Really comfortable seats with contrast stitch leather, gorgeous material on the door cards, and that transitions round onto the dashboard as well. Big, chunky BMW style steering wheel with the contrast M stitching round it. Very nice to hold, got a good amount of squidge in it, but it is quite chunky, so if you prefer a skinnier steering wheel, not the car for you. Lovely stitched leather in the centre of the steering wheel, and you've got quite a few elements of practicality up here. First of which, good news, my water bottle fits in the front door cards, and I've got 2 cup holders down here as well. So practicality that way is pretty good. I've got a large armrest which has a good amount of storage underneath it, and there is a decent sized glove box, certainly big enough for a few snacks and a few bits for a longer journey. In the centre control stack, I don't actually have very many buttons. Most of the ones I have are actually for the infotainment system. I do have a physical volume knob, track skip buttons, and a hazard switch as well. There are quick controls for the screen demisting and rear heated screen, but all of your climate controls sit at the bottom of your iDrive system. Now, the iDrive system in this is the latest version, which is a pair of large screens, central one for infotainment, bigger than the one for the driver's display. They are both very crisp, very clear graphics. It is a shame to see so much integrated into the screens because it does make it a little bit more difficult to use all of those controls, but this is the direction that we're heading in, it seems. The driver's instrument cluster is very clear, and for critical bits of information such as iDrive sat-nav commands and speed limits, you get a nice heads-up display which is very good at conveying those important bits of information. I've got physical buttons on the steering wheel, which is good at least, and down in the centre I've got a physical control for the iDrive system, shortcuts for those commonly used options, and I've got my shift lever, not much of a lever, but it's down here, as well as my drive modes and my start-stop button to turn the ignition on. The seats are lovely and adjustable. They adjust several different ways, all electrically, and because it's a BMW that's from the M division, you've got the inflatable or deflatable side bolstering and the under-thigh support, which you can slide forwards or backwards manually. So, pretty easy to get comfortable as a driver in here. Let's see how it drives. I have driven the i4 M50 before, and you can see that video linked somewhere here. And in that video, I was remarkably impressed with just how well this car handled itself, the power it was able to put down, and the level of luxury within the cabin. And obviously here, having it for a full review, those things are all still true. But what I've been able to do today is drive it for a little bit longer on some more challenging roads and a different variety of roads than I was able to when I was at the SMMT event last year. This car delivers absolutely savage acceleration, and that is because the i4 M50 comes with a dual motor all-wheel drive setup that produces a peak power of 544 horsepower and a peak torque of 795 Newton meters, both of which are quite frankly obscene numbers for an executive saloon. Now, that power and torque will take the i4 M50 from 0 to 62 miles an hour in a claimed time of 3.9 seconds. However, what we do know is that there have been several instances of factory spec cars achieving that 0 to 62 sprint in quite a bit less than that. So, take it or leave it, this is naffing fast. Fast performance is great, but for a petrol head, you need a little bit more than just point and squirt acceleration to make the car feel like it's genuinely enjoyable to drive. So does the i4 offer something there to make it actually a little bit engaging and worthy of you spending your money? And what I'd have to say there is, yes, absolutely. Of all of the EVs I've driven, and I have driven quite a few at this point, this is the EV that feels most like a petrol or ICE car to drive. It really brings far more engagement to the driving experience than any other EV I've driven. The steering has actual feedback, which is a good start, and the chassis is incredibly communicative. What this means is that you can have fun in this, genuine fun. It's a car that communicates with you, it tells you what's happening, you can feel what's happening when you turn into a corner. The steering could be heavier and it could give you a little bit more feedback, but as far as EVs go, this is far above anything I've driven in terms of what it actually allows you to feel, because most are completely numb when it comes to, I've turned the wheel, can I feel what it's doing? No, most of the time. In this, you can feel something, which is excellent. Couple that with, let's face it, a chassis from the M Sport division of BMW who really know what they're doing, and you have a very compelling package. Is the package compelling enough to spend what is quite a high list price of £72,000 at time of recording on this i4 M50? I don't know, that's a question for you. Certainly if you're a petrol head who needs an EV and wants to retain that driving experience and engagement, it's probably worth it, because no other car I've driven that's an EV in this segment offers this level of fun and feeling behind the wheel. So if that's the price you've got to pay, you have to pay it. With a battery capacity of 83.9 kilowatt hours, this car is capable of doing around 315 miles on a full charge. And its owner has informed us that during winter, the maximum he's got is about 310 miles. And with that sheer amount of performance on tap, that kind of range, I'd say, is not too bad at all. Enough about how powerful and how well the car drives, because it does both incredibly well. What does it have in terms of driver tech that's actually worth you getting? So you've got the great heads-up display that shows you the power level, speed limit, your current speed, and also as you approach waypoints on the sat-nav, it gives you directions in the heads-up display. That is excellent. Visibility forwards is great. You do have some pretty large A-pillars, but they don't intrude too much. Visibility to the sides and through the rear is a mixed bag. Sideways is fine, the wing mirrors are great, they have that little curved section to the edge to help eliminate blind spots, but rear visibility through the rear view mirror is a little bit lacking. And that's partly due to the coupe styling of this car, and also due to the fact that even though you can fold those 3 rear headrests down, they still do intrude into that screen section you have. So rear visibility could be better, but generally it's pretty good. And to make up for that, when you're parking, you do have an excellent reversing camera, and you've got parking sensors all round. So even though you could see a little bit more to the back under ideal circumstances, you don't really struggle to park this. In sport mode, you have an increased amount of regenerative braking, the steering does weight up a little bit, and of course you get the maximum power the car will give you. I'm going to pop that back into comfort mode. However, one thing that's also worth mentioning is in sport mode, the noise that this car plays gets even better. So there's always a subtle amount of noise sitting away in the background, and that helps detract from the fact that this is an EV, has no engine to make noise, and has frameless doors, so you do get a small hint of wind noise from up here. The sound does help with take that away, but also the sound in sport mode does genuinely add to the engagement of this car. So this is, it's almost, I'd say, the complete package in terms of things that can be done to make an EV feel interesting. Driver assistance tech, I've got the heads-up display, I've got fully automatic headlamps with high beam assist, I've got auto wipers, I've got lane keeping assist, I've got front collision warning, auto emergency braking, I've got it all. All of the controls you interact with feel really nice, the stalks are good, and the indicators work like indicators should. You know, you push it down and it stays where you've left it, and then it clicks back to the middle when you cancel the indicator. Brilliant. BMW have learned. Can they just learn about not having my climate controls here, please? So that's probably enough of me waffling on about, to be honest, how much I really like this car. Let's find somewhere to conclude. Well, it certainly brings some questionable styling to the table, but if you are a petrol head, this is the EV for you. This is absolutely a proper BMW, and it really does drive like one. If you have enjoyed today's video, please do let us know by liking, commenting and subscribing to the Buckle Up YouTube channel. There's a few ways you can support the channel, all of which are linked in the description. Please feel free to subscribe, comment, join as a channel member, buy some merch from our spread shop. I will see you in the next video. Bye.